Madhavam Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhavam Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhavam Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so we're reading today from the Srimad-bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 1, text, or starting with text 20. There's about 9 verses here that don't have purports. So we'll chant the verse for number 20 and maybe just read the translations after that. There's a small purport on 29. Tatendra Rochanas Twashid Devas Chatushti Tadayaha Urja Sambhadaya Sapta Rishayo Brahmavadinaha Tatendra Rochanas Tvasid Devascha Chushitadayaha Urja Sambhadaya Sapta Rishayo Brahmavadinaha Tatindra Rochanastvasid Devascha Tushitadayaha Urja Sambhadaya Sapta Rishayo Brahmavadinaha Tatindra Rochanastvasid Devascha Tushitadayaha Urja Sambhadaya Sakta Rishayo Brahmavadinaha Tatindra Rochanastvasid Devascha Tushitadayaha Urja Sambhadaya Sapta Rishayo Brahmavadinaha Tomorrow. Okay, we're making progress. Tatra, in this Manvantara, Indraha, Indra, Rochanaha, Rochana, the son of Yagya. Two, but Asit became Devaha, demigods. Cha, also. Tushita Adayaha, Tushita and others. Urja, Stamba, Adayaha, and others. Sapta, 7. Rishaya, great saints. Brahmavadina, all faithful devotees. Translation: during the reign of Swarochisha, the post of Indra was assumed by Rochana, the son of Yagya. Tushita and others became the principal demigods, and Urja, Stamba, and others became the 7 saints. All of them were faithful devotees of the Lord. Repeat after me. During the reign of Swarochisha, the post of Indra was assumed by Rochana, the son of Yagya. Tushita and others became the principal demigods, and Urja, Stamba, and others became the 7 saints. All of them were faithful devotees of the Lord. Okay, considering all the extra verses we need to read before there's a purport, and then we started kind of late. I'm just going to read the translation, and then we'll read the purport for the one that has a purport, and I'll try to speak something. Vedashira was a very celebrated rishi. From the womb of his wife, whose name was Tushita, came the avatar named Vibhu. Vibhu remained a brahmachari and never married throughout his life. From him, 88,000 other saintly persons took lessons on self-control, austerity, and similar behavior. O king, the third Manu, Uttama, was the son of King Priyavrata. Among the sons of this Manu were Pavana, Srinjaya, and Yagyahotra. During the reign of the third Manu, Pramada and other sons of Vashishta became the seven sages. The Satyas, Vedashrutas, and Bhadras became demigods, and Satyajit was selected to be Indra, the king of heaven. In this Manvantar, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared from the womb of Sunrita, who was the wife of Dharma, the demigod in charge of religion. Okay. The Lord was celebrated as Satyasena, and he appeared with other demigods known as the Satyavratas. Satyasena, along with his friend Satyajit, who was the king of heaven, along with his friend Satyajit, who was the king of heaven, Indra, killed all the untruthful, impious, and misbehaved yakshas, rakshasas, and ghostly living entities who gave pains to the other living beings. The brother of the third Manu, Uttama, was celebrated by the name Tamasa and became the fourth Manu. Tamasa had 10 sons headed by Prithu, Kyakti, Nara, and Ketu. During the reign of Tamasa Manu, among the demigods, the Satyakas, Haris, and Viras. During the reign of Tamasa Manu, among the demigods were the Satyakas, Haris, and Viras. The heavenly king Indra was Trishika. The sages in Saptarshi Dham were headed by Jyotir Dham. Okay, and this is the verse that has a little purport. O king, in the Tamasa Manvantar, the sons of Vidriti, who were known as the Vidritis, also became demigods, since in course of time the Vedic authority was lost. These demigods, by their own powers, protected the Vedic authority. Purport. In the Tamasa Manvantar, there were two kinds of demigods. One of them was known as the Vidritis. The duty of the demigods is to protect the authority of the Vedas. The word Devata refers to one who carries the authority of the Vedas, whereas Rakshasas are those who defy the Vedic authority. If the authority of the Vedas is lost, the entire universe becomes chaotic. Therefore, it is the duty of the demigods, as well as the kings and aides of governments, to give full protection to the Vedic authority. Otherwise, human society will be a chaotic condition in which there cannot be peace or prosperity. Om Jnana Timiranda Shakina Shana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Guru. So, although we we don't usually speak on verses that don't have purports, but they all seem to be. It's like this is one purport for all of them. It looks like. So one thing that really sticks out when we read these narrations from the Srimad-bhagavatam is that we're talking about Vedic knowledge and how it is. I mean, what are we actually being told here? We're being told about for thousands, millions of years of universal history and other planets that we have no direct experience of, and this is not knowledge is being given about who the Manus are, and who their children are, and and how they became demigods, or how they became, who the incarnations of the Lord are. So that you can just really appreciate the Srimad-bhagavatam and how deep it is in knowledge. I mean, someone could speculate, oh, somebody just made it up, just stories like that, but it's not. It's not a fact. The Srimad-bhagavatam is actually mentioned in other scriptures. It's just mentioned in other scriptures. In fact, the actual Srimad-bhagavatam changes. None that changes exactly, but it increases in volume as time goes on. Just like Lord Brahma, that when he heard the knowledge from the Lord when he was in his meditation, it was actually Srimad-bhagavatam. But it doesn't say exactly, but it was probably a more condensed version. Of course, he's very very smart. Just like the Vedanta Sutra. The Srimad-bhagavatam is like the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, right? And the Vedanta Sutra is, you have to be very, very, very smart to be able to understand it. So earlier on in the universe, there were the same essential knowledge was there. Just like in Srimad-bhagavatam, there's what's called the Chatur Shlokas. Bhagavad Gita has the Chatur Shlokas, their own, and there are 4 verses. Which, they don't come to my mind immediately, but there's 4 verses together, and they're called the Chatur Shlokas of Srimad-bhagavatam, and they're basically the entire Srimad-bhagavatam knowledge is condensed in them. Everything's there if you have the intelligence to see it. Jai Shri Shri Gaura-Nitai, Shri Shri Radha Vrajabihari, Digana, Balaram, Lady Subhadra, Shrigadev Pavad Maharaj Ki Jai. Yeah, so that the Srimad-bhagavatam is so. The Srimad-bhagavatam is, as it says in the Srimad-bhagavatam itself, it's actually an incarnation of Krishna. It's like a Shaktivesh avatar, sort of. It's an incarnation. So all the potencies, just as all the potencies of the Lord are there in the Lord's holy names, so all the potencies of the Lord is also there in the Srimad-bhagavatam. And that's why Srila Prabhupada says if you study the Srimad-bhagavatam from beginning to end, step by step, and you're studying carefully and you're, of course, trying to follow what you're learning from it, then you'll become a self-realized soul. Srila Prabhupada said by the time you finish the 9th canto, if you're reading properly, if you're following it properly. So everything is there. So anyway, that was my first thing that struck me here about how deep this knowledge is, just from a historical point of view. And of course, Srimad-bhagavatam history is perfect. Srimad-bhagavatam, Bhagavat Purana. Puranas are actually histories. The Sanskrit is called itihasa. Itihasa means but it's a history. But the history of the Srimad-bhagavatam, the history of the Puranas are perfect. They're perfect. It's not, in modern times, non-Vedic times, we'll call it, the history of, there's so many history books, but the history books are written according to, each country has their history. So in America, certain histories are written in a certain way, and maybe there's something between America and Russia, say. But in Russia, I'm sure that it's presented a little bit differently, because the government wants to make sure that their people feel that we are right. We're right, and this other country really messed up. And of course, in America, it's the same thing. So knowledge is actually distorted. Historical knowledge is actually distorted, for some other purpose that the historians or the government that controls the historians can describe. Same thing with other knowledge. There's scientific knowledge. Material scientific knowledge is not dependable in that sense. Anyway, Srimad-bhagavatam and the Vedas are perfect in every sense. Now, and then Srila Prabhupada, this short purport, he is describing how one of the duties of the demigods, and demigods also, by the way, means, it says devata. It means demigods in the higher planets, of course, but also a devotee is called deva. It means a godly person, it actually said demigods. Even devotees are called demigods, but they're the empowered demigods there. So when it says here, Srila Prabhupada describes that one of the duties of the demigods is to protect the Vedas, to protect the Vedic scriptures, and of course the demons, rakshasas, and so on, in whatever form they may take. That their business is to try to destroy the Vedas, destroy the authority of the Vedas. In fact, that happened when the British Empire got into India. They really worked very hard to convince the Indian people that their knowledge was bad. It was useless. It was mythological. It was. They tried to make them give up the whole concept of everything, and just follow the scientific viewpoint from Britain. But that was very unfortunate they did that, and it was very unfortunate that they were successful very much in their how they presented it, because India, or the Vedic knowledge, which is primarily known from India, is the highest knowledge, and it's the duty of not just the demigods in the heavenly planets, but those who are demigods in the sense, devotees in the sense of demigods in the sense of devotees who are practicing and following this way of life. It is our duty to become very, very familiar with this philosophy, with these teachings, and to teach it to others. If we are not convinced, or someone is not convinced about the authority of the Vedas, then there's no way they're going to. First of all, they're not going to practice it. If you're not convinced, you're not going to live by something that you're not convinced of, right? And of course, if you're not practicing it, they say practice what you preach. So if you're preaching it, but you can't, you don't actually believe in it enough to even practice it, then of course it's useless. And anyone would see that. Just like if somebody gave a big lecture, there was actually an incident like this I read somewhere. Someone was giving a very interesting lecture about witches, I think, witches and witchcraft and those kind of things, and he was very into it. And then halfway through his presentation, one of the students was at a university. One of the students who was attending, he said, "Do you actually believe in witches?" She says, "No." Almost everyone walked out. Yeah. Almost everyone walked out from the audience. They just, okay, you're talking all this talk, but you don't even believe in what you're saying. So it's like that. So this is a how do you say, part of our duty in ISKCON. It's part of our duty to get this knowledge, become very familiar with this knowledge, study the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad-bhagavatam, live by these scriptures, and be able to make arguments when necessary to support it. And that's just like Srila Prabhupada writes in I think it's the first canto, probably the first chapter of Srimad-bhagavatam. They're talking about the qualification of the spiritual master, the guru, like Suta Goswami, was going to speak did speak to the sages of Naimisharanya forest. And Srila Prabhupada writes in one purport, he says, no one should dare sit on the Vyasa-san if he's not able to, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but if he's not able to defeat all these other kind of philosophies, like the opposing philosophies, on the basis of the Srimad-bhagavatam. And he said in deference, there's a word actually, in deference of the Srimad-bhagavatam. And Srila Prabhupada, in that purport, he mentions these 6 kinds. There's 6 basic deviant kinds of knowledge in India that are taught. Logic, and then the atheist Kapila, not the incarnation Kapila, but the atheist Kapila, and there's a certain yoga system, but all of them are not. They're not quite right. Some of them they have their own conceptions of the Vedas. So none of them are perfect, and all of them were created by some individual, maybe smart person, but not like receiving it through the disciplic succession. Srimad-bhagavatam comes through the disciplic succession. Srimad-bhagavatam comes through the disciplic succession. So Srila Prabhupada's point was that we should have very good knowledge of this, Srimad-bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and other great books by the different previous acharyas. We should try to become very knowledgeable of these, so we are actually able, if someone comes with some other philosophy, they say, "Well, I don't believe in what you do." Well, okay, what's your philosophy? What do you believe in? What philosophy are you following that you don't accept this one? And whatever philosophy they say, I'm a follower of, I don't know, there's some atheistic philosopher out there. I'm a follower of such and such person, and you say, so what is their philosophy? And they probably don't really know much about what the philosophy is, because people generally don't study deeply these philosophies. They just get an idea and say, okay, I can take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and run my life around it, right? So they don't really know, but we should know that, so and so, this was actually their philosophy, and here is actually the problem with the philosophy, or maybe here's something that's correct about the philosophy based on Vedas, and here's something which is wrong about the philosophy based on the Vedas. We should be able I'm not claiming that I'm on that level on a wide scale, but we're aspiring for this. But in general, we should be try to become more and more qualified to be able to make these kind of arguments. Now, if someone starts as early as jiva, when you become concentrate on this jiva, when you get bigger, you are going to learn this philosophy very well, and you're going to be able to preach on behalf of Srila Prabhupada. Yes? Yes. So, like that. So this is this is the system. This is what we must try to do. Srila Prabhupada wrote a book, what's it called? Dialectic Spiritualism, I think. Right? Dialectic Spiritualism. And it's all this Western philosophies, basically. There are so many Western philosophies, so many different ideas, and he is whatever disciples were working with him on this book. They would present the Western idea, so something about each philosopher, and they would get the arguments from the philosopher's side, and Srila Prabhupada would say, they might say that, oh, this is correct, but, and then show where it's wrong. So that book, if we read it, if we study it, then for Western philosophers, someone that actually comes up and says, this is my philosophy, we should be able to say, okay, that's good, but we follow the Vedas, and here's where the problem is. Or maybe we follow the Vedas, and this part is supported by the Vedas, but this other part is really off. Like that. That's Western philosophies, and the Eastern philosophies are these six that I just mentioned. Just for example, there's the one called Nyaya, logic. It's called in English is logic. In Sanskrit it's called Nyaya. So it's just arguing back and forth, and the real purpose of it, the real goal of it, is not to try to determine what the real truth is. It's just that this philosopher has this idea, this philosopher has that idea, and they're just going to go argue back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until they're tired of arguing, and each one's going to try to establish whatever they believe to be the truth. But no one's really concerned about what the actual truth is, and they probably won't come to the actual truth. The whole goal of Nyaya is just arguing back and forth, showing how intelligent you are because you can argue. Armchair philosophers, she'll probably call them. Just sit back and just want to talk and try to show how smart they are because they can present the philosophy, their ideas of the philosophy. So that's one. And then the atheist Kapila, he did a very detailed analytical study of the material elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego, and the working senses, and the knowledge acquiring senses, and there's like that. There were 24 of those materially, and then. But he left out the other two, which were the most important ones, which the original Kapila included, which was the soul and the super soul, because otherwise it's just material knowledge, which might be correct, but the real goal is what the soul does and what the super soul does. In other words, it's basically the conclusion of real Sankhya is devotional service. And there's a chapter in Lord Kapila Dev's teachings called The Glories of Devotional Service. That's the goal. But the other one is just so many things about the material world, material energy, but there's no mention of God. There's no belief in God. Because he was this particular Kapila was an atheist. So that was another area of knowledge. But it's actually described as this is actually not knowledge, it's ignorance. If you look in Bhagavad Gita, There's a few verses to come together, and there's several different things that are mentioned there: humility and accepting guru, and several things. I don't recall right off the details. I think there are about 20 points. And at the end, the verse says, and all of this constitutes real knowledge. And anything outside of these points is not knowledge, it's just ignorance. It's like that. So someone can say that they're really, really, really smart, 185, IQ of 185, which is genius level. And they can say so many things, and they think they're very smart, but in terms of actual knowledge, they are not smart. And what is actually, conducive for becoming Krishna conscious, for perfecting your human form of life, or going back home, back to Godhead, they're actually very not smart. They're very actually ignorant, bewildered in so many ways. So this is so we from the Srimad-bhagavatam we get this actual knowledge, Krishna conscious knowledge, and knowledge means, I mentioned the other day in class. What's the definition of knowledge? Yeah, it says knowledge means to understand what is material, what is spiritual, and who is the controller of both. So we have to. If we don't understand there is a spiritual, or we don't understand who's the controller, then even if you have a big knowledge, I can use the word. You've got a lot of information about the material world, but you don't understand God, and you don't understand even that you're a spirit soul, then you have no knowledge. It's not knowledge unless you have those three aspects of it. You've got to understand what is spirit. Then I am spirit soul. That God is the supreme soul, supreme controller of everything. And then, of course, you have to understand the material nature too, but the relationship of, and that's what we were saying the other day. Sambandha. Sambandha means relationship, but it basically means knowledge of that relationship. I am spirit soul. I'm servant of God. I am temporary. Well, I'm not temporary. I am eternal, but my body is temporary. God is eternal. He's eternally existed, and He's the supreme controller. He's the supreme maintainer. All this is part of Sambandha knowledge, and without that, we can't even chant Hare Krishna properly. Because how do you chant Hare Krishna in a devotional mood if you don't even understand that you are a servant of God? So it starts off with Sambandha, and then Abhideya. This means the process, sadhana bhakti. For us, it's sadhana bhakti. And then by practicing sadhana bhakti, we gradually come to the point of past sadhana, go to the stage of bhava, and then pure love of Krishna. And that pure love of Krishna is the goal, which is prayojana, it's called in Sanskrit. So Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana. First the basic knowledge, then you can follow the process, then the information how to follow the process, and the actually following it, and then eventually we achieve the actual goal where we develop pure love for Lord Krishna. And so Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here he also says here that therefore it is a duty of the demigods as well as the kings and aids of the governments to give full protection to the Vedic authority. We sure don't see that today. What government is, even in India, it's pretty bad as far as the government. The government is very, very, very materialistic, and the sinful activities are very, very heavy. They say that one of the biggest exporters of cows or cow meat is India. Yeah, it's actually, they say that the biggest one is, but I've also heard the same thing about Argentina and other places. So I'm not sure, but it's probably pretty heavy. But it's actually the responsibility of the government. You know, the president of the country, the king. If you're somewhere where you have kings, the governors. And in reality, anyone who is in a leadership position, it's part of being. It's part of having dependence. So someone's a government leader, they have to do their part in making sure that Vedic knowledge, actual knowledge, is protected and maintained. And if you have family, then you have to, family head, father and mother, have to be learning and teaching this Vedic knowledge. Make sure that's maintained. No one should be allowed to grow up and be taught that it's good to be an atheist, or whatever feels good, do it. That's just it spoils everything. The animals live like that. It feels good, do it. But if a human being takes that position, everything is spoiled. So it's the responsibility of householders to teach family members and others also, as far as possible, to become Krishna conscious. It's the responsibility of the government. They certainly aren't doing this, but the responsibility of the governments to somehow or other support teaching of Vedic knowledge, and of course to not allow things like animal slaughter, intoxication, and so on in the world, which is just destroying everything. That's their responsibility. And if they don't follow, if they don't do their duty, then the people engage in sinful activities because they are being misled. And then the government leaders are a big problem, because the government leaders, not just government leaders, but the Srila Prabhupada says that the government leader, because they have that responsibility, and if they misuse that responsibility, they mislead people, then they can get up to 1/6 of the sinful reactions of the people that are depending on them, who are depending on them guiding them. So you can imagine if someone is the governor of the state, and they're encouraging or allowing or not fighting against illicit activities, intoxication, and improper knowledge going out, or they're encouraging or not fighting against meat eating and animal slaughter, like that. If they're not doing their part, and the people are following them, because people follow the leader. Most people are not leaders. Most people are followers. So they're saying, "Oh, my governor is he likes to eat like this, or he is teaching like this, or at least he's not teaching against this." So people tend to follow most people follow. There's this many leaders and so many followers who are influenced. So the leader is misleading the people. Of course, they're also misled. They don't know what they're supposed to should do and should not do, but they are misleading the people, and people are engaged in sinful activities because their leader is teaching that, is supporting that sinful activity like that, then those people will engage in sinful activities, but the leader also gets a lot of reaction. And of course, on the other side, if there's a leader who's really, really pious and really doing good, and people get certain um, material benefits, pious activities, material pious activities, he also can get up to 1/6 of that. But we don't see a whole lot of that in Kali Yuga. So that's the leaders, and then of course it's the same thing as there in individuals. So if those who are the father, the mother, are responsible in the family, so say in a family out there somewhere, the father he's working hard, but they're going and they're buying, meat and things like that, and that's they're feeding the family. So the children don't know better. The father probably doesn't know better, because that's why we have to try to educate everyone. But if they're acting improperly, because even out of ignorance, and others are following them because they're following the leader, the superior in the family, then everyone is also getting reaction. So those who are giving wrong knowledge, wrong guidance, and those who are acting on that wrong guidance. So it works in both ways. It's like the Srila Prabhupada gives the example of the what do you call it? Being like the accomplice to a crime. So someone goes out and kills someone, and then police come and say, "So, did you do it?" "No, I didn't do it." But they say, "But we found out that you gave the person the gun, you gave them some money, you told them to kill somebody. So they pulled the trigger, they shot somebody, but you supported it, you encouraged it. So you also are responsible. Maybe you're this much less responsible, but you're also responsible," like that. So the same thing with karma. It's like you say, if someone's eating meat, they're wrong for eating meat, but that means who raised the animal for slaughter is wrong. There's six. There's six stages. In animal slaughter, there's who raises the animal, who sells the animal, or sells the meat into a grocery store, who's actually selling it in the grocery store, who's buying it. Actually, there's more than six. Who delivers it, who's buying it, who cooks it, and then who eats it. Anyway, somehow it's divided into six. Everyone. So, and that's because if all the people in Miami all of a sudden became vegetarian, just imagine if all the people just decided, okay, or all the people in Florida all became vegetarian. We just had to decide everyone had a dream and had a realization one night that, hey, we got to be vegetarian. So all meat eating stopped. So the grocery stores would not be selling it, or they stopped selling it because they sell what people buy, and the grocery stores are not selling it. Then they're not buying it from the meat packing companies, and if that's done, where the animals are being slaughtered. So the whole thing stops because there's no market, at least as far for that area. So therefore, everyone is actually responsible. Someone could say, "Well, I didn't kill the animal," but you didn't kill the animal, but you're supporting the business, and they're killing the animals because you're buying the meat and because you're like that. So that's karma. Um, so therefore, based on our purport here, we should, it is our duty as members of this Krishna consciousness movement where we have so much knowledge available, practical knowledge and book knowledge, you know, how to practice Krishna consciousness and how to, the actual philosophy behind that practice. We have that, so we have duty to give this knowledge to others, either through preaching, Harinam, Harinam, that's also helping, and people get to the point they actually want to learn something, give out some knowledge, like those pamphlets and those kind of things, or books, give out that knowledge to the people, and when people become interested and want to say, hey, this actually is interesting. I actually can I, how do I do this? I mean, how do I actually do this? Live this way, and then we should be ready and to help in that way too. So as we as members of ISKCON have a lot of responsibility as far as getting knowledge, getting this knowledge ourselves, and practicing it and teaching it to others. This is like a sacred duty, and that's when it says demigods help to support, demigods help to protect the Vedic knowledge. That's we can't see what's going on the heavenly planet type of level of demigods, but we are who are practicing Krishna consciousness. That is also our responsibility to get this knowledge and to to distribute it the way it's supposed to be done. Okay, I think I have to stop here. We started a little bit late, and we still talked as long as we normally do. So, sorry I didn't set up the microphone. Any questions or comments? If you do, talk loud enough maybe that you could be heard here.
I was thinking about the 6 philosophies in India. He, like Lord Chaitanya, he was practicing the logic. He was arguing with everybody to the point that they were annoying. He just wanted to argue. And I think in Bengal at the time, they were very philosophical. He was practicing, at least, it's a Leela, of course. Is that correct? That he was practicing the Nayana philosophy logic?
Yeah. He was. He was grammar and logic. He was very expert. Yeah, so he could defeat them.
Yeah, and then when he obviously revealed Srimad-bhagavatam, he was able to defeat everyone. Just as we said that we should do, from the basis of Srimad-bhagavatam and Vedas, be able to defeat through logic, and all these other philosophies.
Yes. I mean, we should be able to through logic and arguments, but based on Srimad-bhagavatam. The real purpose of proper purpose of logic and argument is logic and argument based on Srimad-bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, based on real knowledge, to establish that real knowledge. That's really the purpose of it. The Nyaya practice is pretty much useless because the real how it's actually done is just for the sake of arguing, and you try to defeat someone, but no one's really interested in what the final truth is, the real truth. They just want to say, I see like this, and I see like this, and then you back and forth until you get tired of going back and forth. Just each one trying to show how intelligent they are, but in the end, you say, now this is your opinion, but can you say absolutely this is the truth? Then somebody else would come in with another argument. So the real, the final conclusion is, and she'll probably say this, in India, if you tell someone, oh, you must do like such and such, and say, is it the Vedas? Is this an order in the Vedas? You're telling me I must act in such and such a way? Is this Vedic knowledge? So that's the and of course when Srila Prabhupada was describing that he was many years ago. So it's probably still there to some degree, but society in general has become more and more degraded. But at least within ISKCON, we should not become more and more degraded. Like I was saying the other day, we chant our rounds, we follow the principles, we engage our life in Krishna service. We don't have to be, well, actually will not be, if we do that, we will not be um, degraded by Kali, by the age of Kali, the personality of Kali. We won't be degraded as long as we chant Hare Krishna, as long as we avoid the sinful activities, and as long as we preach Krishna consciousness, we will not be degraded. The whole world will go to hell, and it's going that way. But if we're practicing Krishna consciousness nicely, then we will not go there. And even by the end of Kali Yuga, there will still be devotees around. There will be some devotees that have to be there to usher in Satya Yuga, the next cycle. So there will still be devotees around, and the whole world will be so in such bad condition that the Kalki incarnation will kill most everyone. There will just be a few devotees, maybe 200,000, I don't know. There will be a small population on the earth at that point that are actually devotees. Everyone else will be very demoniac, and they'll be killed. And then, of course, there's a big push when Satyuga comes in, and then there's a lot of big family. The devotee families will become very large. And, we read about these demigods, or even Shubha was just talking about. It wasn't even demigod. It was Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra and Gandhari was his wife. They had 100 sons. Actually, they had 100 sons. And Srila Prabhupada said, it sounds like a lot to us now. This is 5,000 years ago. It sounds like who has 100 sons? And then with one mother. How do these things happen? But it was possible somehow under some circumstances. So he had so many sons. But Srila Prabhupada said that was actually not all that unusual. We know about Dhritarashtra because it comes up in Srimad-bhagavatam and Mahabharata like that. But it was not all that unusual that someone would have many, many children, sons and maybe some daughters too. And what to speak of the Prajapatis, whose job was to have big families of very nice devotee children who would go on populating the earth and the other planets and living a very Krishna conscious life. At least it starts off like that.
When you think of just our duty to teach and become better, that we really want to help our people. And thinking of for me personally, really listening to all the way, it's just becoming more and more the genocide that happened and how corrupt the government is. It really starts with how to have huge responsibility for helping our people.
Yeah.
And the need for the there in many places is a huge responsibility.
Yeah, and the leaders, the people complain, even in this country, is always, if you look at the news, depending on which side you're on, complain about the whoever's in the other political party you don't like. Fox News means you're going to criticize somebody else. If you follow the other news, you're going to criticize the other one. So it's like that. So that's going on. leaders, the presidents, in this case, they're put in that position by the votes of the people, and that's actually not a it's actually a problem with the democratic system, because the people in general really don't know should be done, what should not be done. They just don't know. And so someone comes up and makes so many promises. Oh, if you elect me, I will, you know, you'll all get good jobs, and you get big paychecks, and you'll get, I don't know, whatever people are wanting, they'll promise that. That's politics. So someone hears all these things, just vote for me, and I will give you all these things. Of course, they never do it. They can't do it, and they probably don't even intend to do it for the most part. But they're told they say like that. But the people in general don't understand what are the actual qualifications of a real leader. A real leader will, well, in Vedic times, a real leader means like the kings, the Kshatriya kings. They would give protection. Protection meant primarily protection for everyone, like all living entities. But the protection meant, especially for the brahmanas, means that they're because of the knowledge they would give. Old men and old women, well, women in general, but old men, they would give knowledge, they would give protection to the children, who are, of course, need protection because they're 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 small and weak and unknowledgeable, and they would give protection to all animals, especially the cows and bulls, two sides of the same thing. They would give that protection. In modern times, it's become, I'll give you protection if you say I scratch your back, you scratch my back. I'll give you protection. You do something for me. There's a very different standard uh, of, of, of what is right and what's wrong. And so this is our modern, but such people are put in a position because the vote, the people in general who are voting, and they vote for what sounds good to them, even though it's all mostly a lot of nonsense that they're, and they don't, you know, the leaders that never actually give them what they promise they're going to give. They just promise like that. It's 9 o'clock already, so I got to stop here, take care of some other services. Thank you for staying for the class.